Within this lesson, we're just going to be going over and reviewing all the content that we've gone through using Bootstrap. So this is our default website that we built throughout the course, and as you can see here, we're using the default Bootstrap navigation bar. We've added some calls to action in the left. We've added a carousel image menu over here in the middle. We've got some spacing up here for a title or a header, so this will propagate through on our navigation. And then we've got an H1 tag here telling us, just basically announcing about our website. We've got a link here for a portfolio. We're using modals for this pop-up window, and this gives us an option to kind of highlight some information. If we want to highlight a particular topic, instead of having a user click through, we can present it here within the modal. So if we are using a dynamic type design on our website, we can really work with modals and add some additional content. Here we've got a warning message and alert from Bootstrap, so this is closable, so we can actually close that, and then if we refresh the page, that will be back. So this is a way to pass along messages using the alert within Bootstrap over to the viewers. So here we're just passing through a message. Here we showed you how to build a table, and we showed you that all of the different options for colors within the tables and styling of the. We also walked through how to add in images, create responsive images, and then we went through forms, so all the great things that you can do with forms. This form field, it does look a little bit out of style, so it's not really synced very well, but it's because we're showing you all the different examples of what you can do and all the different ways you can do forms and enter in fields, as well as style the different fields. Open up and we look at the source file. So we had very minimal CSS that we had added in. So this was just over and above what we had within Bootstrap. So we had added in just for examples, so we had a minimum height so that our cells would actually show up at a minimum. So you can see that with these cells down here, that they're actually showing up at a minimum height of 150. And over here we just used, we were using example class, and we were just doing a different color for odd, a different color for even, and so we had just defaulted these back to white. So we can change these as well if we want to bring back the colors in order to see all the different classes that we've got, all the different columns. So if we were to do something like that, we would again see all the different columns and the colors, so they would alternate in colors, so it'd be white, red, or pink, white, pink, and so forth. So you can see that down here, because I think that these three are probably the only three original columns that we have in a row. So that's why we have the styling up here. So this was more just for our sample and to show you what it looks like, so we can differentiate the different columns. Up at the top, we needed to have body padding top, because if we do remove that, what happens is this content moves all the way up and it gets hidden by the navigation bar, because we chose to have our navigation bar and sticking right to the top, which is common practice when you're designing websites, because you're thinking for mobile, and on a mobile site you want to have this content here at the top. And then here we were using the affix. So this was a way to kind of create this sticky type content. So we just created a new class, affix. We gave it a height and width, and then we gave it a background color. So we could easily remove out this background color and then just show you what that. So this is the affix there, and when we remove out that background color, it actually disappears, but although it's still there. And from there we can enter in some content that we want to appear sticky on our web pages. And then we started out with our body, and we opened up, the first tag that we were doing was the navigation, so it wasn't actually fit within our container. So sometimes if you want to keep your navigation along with your container, you can do that as well, but we had separated out because we do want to keep this bar here right at the top, and we had showed you how we can create this opening and closing toggling of the nav bar. So we had just given an ID of Udemy, and we had tagged to the target of Udemy as well, so that allows us, or allows Bootstrap to know that we want to open and close this particular UL list. So then we had created a class, a div container with a class of container. So we're not using fluid, so we had two options of fluid or container, and we just use container, so we do have a limited width, so we can't indefinitely expand it as we could with fluid. So fluid would actually go all the way to the sides, and it would work out on percentages as opposed to a fixed pixel width. So all of the columns still are going to work on a percentage, but the overall container is going to be on a fixed pixel width. So down here we had changed our text to uppercase. We had capitalized this kind of text that's underneath our header text, and then we had gone here, and this is where we had created our affix. So this was the sticky content that was just staying near the top there, and then we had gone into creating a new row, which we had our calls to action that we had placed within it. So this was our side row, and we're just creating some calls to action within that. So the first column, it's going to be 2 SM wide, so that's the width of the column, so it's going to take up 2 columns. And so that was to be our kind of side menu that we have here on the left hand side. So anything within this this class is going to show up here, and we also made it hidden when it shrinks down because some of the content didn't fit well within our page. And then after that, we're looking at the rest of the content, and we had made it XS12, so that would go all the way across on small, and we were working with column SM10 by default, so anything that's a larger side, we're going to have actually the 10 columns, and we're going to keep this header here, or this side part within the side of the menu. So when we went down here, we added in a carousel. So this was a default Bootstrap component. So this added in this kind of image carousel, and so we'd still have to adjust the images to be the same dimension, but they are responsive, and this is a built-in component within Bootstrap, and all you have to do is just add additional items within under this div class, and that's how you can add additional items within the carousel. And then we had some controls for the carousel. We also had some indicators. So these were those little round dots at the bottom that allow us to move to any one of the items. And if you notice that you can pretty much do the same thing where you could do data slide to whatever, data target, data slide, and you can use this this clickable content elsewhere as well if needed. So this gives you a way to kind of control the carousel from different text or images that are additional within your website. Then we had just looked at building out a table and showed you all the different ways that you can build a table, as well as add in the different classes to change some coloring. And as well, we had looked at images, adding in responsive images, and then finally we went down to the form, which we showed you all the different examples of what you can do with forms, all the different ways you can style forms. There's a lot of defaults here that you can use to really get your form styled. This was going to be our footer, so our footer area, so we didn't actually fill out any content in here, but this can be easily adjusted to fill out footer content, and we made it kind of like a fat footer where we'd have 3 different columns of content, and that gives us the ability to place links down there as well as some information about the company, contact information. And then lastly, our last div here is the modal. So this is that back to that target pop-up modal when we click portfolio. So this is actually what gets toggled and shows up. When we close the modal, it dismisses and closes out this modal that just opened up. And with these types of components, they're jQuery based, so we have to bring in the jQuery library, as well as we have to connect to the Bootstrap JavaScript library. And then if we needed to make any kind of customizations to any of the JavaScript components, we could do that within our own script tags. So essentially that's a summary of all the information that we went through within this course, and the full file is going to be contained at index7.html, so you could download that from the resources section of this course and work within that as well within yourself. You'll find as you work with Bootstrap, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do, and you can really interchange all these different classes to make really nice effects and to really bring your web development and your themes to life.